This video tutorial demonstrates how we generate an e-exam for your examinees on the QB Generator exam management software. It also shows how the e-exam is delivered, how the examinee accesses the exam on their computer, and how we can analyze the results and print knowledge deficiency reports and certificates of recognition after they have completed the exam. After logging in the usual way, scroll to the Active Examinees panel. Check that the examinees for whom we want to generate an e-exam are subscribed in the module for which we want to generate an e-exam. If the examinees are not subscribed, we must subscribe them. See our other video entitled Subscribe an Examinee. In this demonstration, we generate an e-exam for the two examinees in the class called Class of 2023. Scroll to the top of the page and click the Generate an Exam button. This button is always displayed on whatever page we are viewing. Select the module for which we want to generate an e-exam. If the module is marked Not Subscribed, this means we are not an authorized administrator for this module. See our other video entitled Set up an Administrator to learn how we can get subscribed as an authorized administrator. If you are a Level 1 administrator, you can subscribe yourself to any module or modules. If you are a Level 2 or Level 3 administrator, we must ask a Level 1 administrator to log in and subscribe you to the module in which we want to generate an e-exam. In this demo, we generate a Module 2 e-exam. Select the class from the drop-down list. This is a list of all the classes currently registered on the system. Select the date and time of the start of the exam. It is important to be accurate here, because the examinees cannot access the exam before the time we set here. Select a break time, if a break time is allowed for this exam. Otherwise, leave the break time at 0. Select the license category for the e-exam. If the license category we want to generate an e-exam is not available in the drop-down list, then the license category is not enabled in the system settings. See our other video entitled Working with Modules to learn how we can enable other license categories. Using the list of subsections for the module, check that the number of questions for each subsection is correct. It is currently set up for a full module exam. The number of questions is preset. However, we can override these preset numbers here, on an exam-by-exam basis. If we want to change the preset numbers globally, we can do that in the settings. See our other video entitled Working with Subsections to learn how to do that. The left column shows the available questions in the database, at the levels appropriate to the selected license category. If we have the hibernation system switched on, some questions may be hibernating, and, therefore, out of use for this e-exam generation. The number of questions currently hibernating is indicated in brackets. If there are insufficient questions in the database to meet the requirements for this e-exam, the number in the right column shows in red, and the Save Settings and Generate Exam button is disabled. The QB generator does not allow us to generate an exam if there are insufficient questions in any subsection from which to select the questions. In this demonstration, we set some subsections to 0. We do not want to generate a full module exam on this occasion. We will generate a partial exam. At the bottom of the screen is the total number of questions selected for this e-exam. Notice how the number changes each time we set a different number for any subsections. The required total field is the minimum number of questions required for this module, in this license category, for a full module exam. The number is taken from the modules page in the settings. See our other video entitled Working with Modules to learn how to set this number. In any case, it is specified by the Part 66 regulation. Here it is for reference only. We can ignore this number and set a partial exam if we want, as we are doing in this instance. When we have configured the exam as we want it, click the Save Settings and Generate Exam button. The next page allows us to save the exam as either a printed exam or an e-exam. Now the exam has been set up, the QB generator has randomly selected the questions according to our configuration. We can optionally open the repository to see the content of this exam. The exam questions are written into the repository. We can scan through the questions, and we can change any questions if we need to. Click the red X next to any question to delete it from this exam. Click the Add Questions link to select another question to replace it. This fine-tuning of an exam allows us to replace any questions that, for example, conflict with another question. If, as in this demo, we do not want to change any questions, we can close the repository. Click Stay on page to confirm. We save the exam as an e-exam. Click OK to confirm. The e-exam is now saved, and an exam reference number is generated. The exam reference number always starts with QB. In this example, QB-E112 shows that this is the 112th exam to be generated. The E shows that it is an e-exam, rather than a printed exam. The other information that is shown in the exam reference number is the class, the module, the license category, the start time and date of the exam, and the number of questions in the exam. At this point, we can open the exam and optionally print it to paper, or to PDF, if we want to save an archive of it. Click the attendance sheet icon. The attendance sheet opens in another browser tab, so that we can leave it open if we need to return to the administration pages. We can print the attendance sheet. Check that all the examinees are listed as we expected. For each examinee, the attendance sheet shows the examinee's number, name and password. It also shows their photo, if we have a photo uploaded to their profile page. There is a checkbox to mark their attendance, and a space for the examinee to sign to confirm their attendance. The examinee number, and the password, must be provided to the examinee when they sit down to log into their computer terminals. You can do this in a number of ways. For example, we can print a second copy of the attendance sheet, and cut it into strips. Hand the strips to the respective examinees. The password shown on the attendance sheet is a single-use, unique password that only provides access to this e-exam. The password contains the examinee number, and the exam reference number. It also contains a random string of characters. The attendance sheet does not show a password if your examinees take the exams on tablets. Instead, it displays a QR code. The QB app used on the tablet scans the QR code. No password is required. If we use tablets, either Android or iPad, for the e-exam access, we must switch on the QR code setting, in the settings. See our other video entitled E-exam settings to see how to configure the examinee authentication for the e-exams. Now we demonstrate how the e-exam looks from the examinee's point of view. QB Generator does not allow an examinee to be logged in on the same browser, when an administrator is already logged in. So for this part of the demonstration, we use a different browser. For example, if we generated the e-exam on a Firefox browser, we can use Chrome browser to demonstrate the e-exam output. We need to use two different browsers, because the QB Generator does not allow an administrator and an examinee to log into the system simultaneously, using the same browser. Type the URL for the examinee's access to the QB Generator into the browser's URL window. The URL for the e-exam access is your usual URL for the QB Generator, with /examinee.php appended to it. If your examinee's computer is networked correctly to the administrator's computer, the examinee login page displays, like this. The examiner types their examinee number, and the password, as found on the attendance sheet. Click the Login button. If the examinee tries to log in before the exam start time, as shown here, the examinee is denied access. If the examinee tries to log in after the exam availability period is expired, the examinee is denied access. The examinee is shown a message that explains why they are denied access. If an exam is generated for the examinee, and the examinee logs in between these two times, then QB Generator allows access. The exam reference number is displayed. The examinee proceeds to take this exam. Before the examinee starts to answer the questions, they must read the list of instructions and conditions. We can configure the list of instructions and conditions in the settings. Once we have configured the instructions and conditions, the same instructions and conditions are displayed on this page for every e-exam. If the examinee has a photo uploaded to their profile page, the photo is displayed at the top right of the page. Below the photo is a timer. The timer displays the total time allowed for this exam. The total time allowed is calculated from the number of questions, multiplied by the time allowed per question. The time allowed per question is globally set in the settings. The timer has a Start Exam button. However, the Start Exam button is disabled until the examinee has put a tick in the checkbox below the list of instructions and conditions. When the exam is started, the timer counts down to 0 and shows the examinee how much time they have remaining in this exam. When the examinee is ready and has agreed to the instructions and conditions, they can click the Start Exam button. The first question is then displayed. A progress table and a progress bar are displayed at the bottom of the page. There are many options for the display of the questions. We can configure the e-exam options in the settings. For example, we can set the e-exam to display one question at a time, as shown in this demo, or alternatively, we can show all the questions on one page. We can show the questions in random order, or serially. If we set the e-exam to show the questions in random order, each examinee has the questions displayed in a different order from other examinees in the same class. However, the same set of questions is used for each examinee in the class. The 3 answers are always randomly shuffled, compared to the answers displayed for other examinees for the same question. This is always the case, it is not an option, regardless of whether the e-exam is set to show the questions in random order or serially. See our other video entitled E-exam settings to learn how to configure the options for the e-exam output. The examinee now proceeds through the questions, marking their responses to each. The examinee can skip questions and return to them later to respond to them. The examinee can return to any question and change the answer if they want. The progress table and progress bar shows where they are in the exam and helps them navigate through the questions. When the examinee is happy that they have answered all the questions to the best of their ability, they click the Mark Exam button. The QB generator does not allow the examinee to click the Mark Exam button if there are any unanswered questions. The only exception is if the timer counts down to 0 before the examinee has completed answering all the questions. In this case, the examinee is presented a pop-up message to say that they have run out of time and must click Mark Exam, even with some questions unanswered. Any questions remaining unanswered are counted as incorrect responses. After the examinee has confirmed that they want to end the exam, the percent score is displayed. We can optionally hide the percent score, if we do not want the examinee to know their score at this time. The post-exam message is configurable in the settings. We can also decide to show the breakdown button. When the examinee clicks View Result Breakdown, the entire exam is displayed, showing which questions the examinee answered correctly and which they answered incorrectly. This is usually not switched on for your official Part 1 for 7 exams, as it shows the answers to questions, some of which may be repeated in a resit exam, if they have failed this exam. However, it is helpful to switch this feature on when doing practice exams or mock exams using a database of uncontrolled questions. See our other video entitled E-exam settings to learn how to configure these options for the e-exam output. When the examinee is finished with the e-exam, they click Logout. When we return to the administration side of the QB generator, we click the Exams menu item. Confirm that we want to leave the exam generation page. We see a list of all the exams generated on the QB generator software. The most recent exam is at the top of the list. Each exam is marked as either an open exam, has results, or an open exam, no results, or as a closed exam. We can filter the exams on these parameters. Our demonstration exam is an open exam, has results. It has results because the examinee's responses to the questions were automatically entered when they click the Mark Exam button. Click the exam reference number to enter the exam. The basic information page shows all the details of the contents of the exam, that is, the module, the class, the date and time of the exam start, the break time, if any is allowed, the pass mark, the number of examinees, the license category and the numbers of questions in each subsection. The Question Details tab shows the list of questions that are in this exam, and their question reference numbers, or serial number. You can click on the serial number, it will take you directly to the Edit Question page, with the respective question preloaded. On this page, we can deal with any rote question we found on this exam. For example, if it was found that any question had 2 or more correct answers, or could not be answered at all, because it had no correct answers. After a review of the question, we can decide to either accredit the question, or exclude the question. Accredit means every examinee is accredited with a correct answer for this question, regardless of how they responded to the question. Alternatively, we can decide to exclude the question from the exam. Each question is ticked as include by default. If we untick any question, we exclude it from the exam. The QB generator then recalculates the examinee's results based on fewer questions. The decision to accredit or exclude any question depends upon the nature of the discrepancy in the question. We can type into the notes field the reason that we accredited or excluded any question or questions. The Examinee Attendance tab shows which of the examinees in the class were in attendance. The green tick indicates that the examinee is still logged into their computer terminal. Each examinee is ticked as being in attendance by default. If any examinee or examinees fail to attend the exam, we can untick them in this checkbox. This marks them absent from this exam. The results per question page shows each examinee's responses to each question. Each column represents a different examinee. The examinee names are not displayed directly. This is to save space when there are many examinees in the class. We can reveal the examinees' names individually by hovering the mouse cursor over any of the question number. In the answer fields, a number 1 shows that they answered the question correctly. A 0 shows that they answered the question incorrectly. These results cannot be changed. They are entered automatically when the examinee clicks the Mark Exam button after completing all the questions on the exam. If this were a printed exam, we would enter the results into these fields. However, as this is an e-exam, these fields are locked. They are not editable. The data is entered automatically when the examinee clicks the Mark Exam button. See our other video, Generate a Printed Exam, to see how to enter results for a printed exam. The data shown in this column is a local facility index. It indicates how the class collectively responded to each question. A low percentage shown here indicates that the class as a whole found the respective question particularly difficult. Typically, a figure of 50% or less recorded here, after all the examinees have completed the exam, triggers an investigation into the question, and perhaps also into the entire course, to determine why the class did not respond better to the question. A deeper analysis of the question can be performed by comparing this local facility index with the global facility index for the question. If, by investigation and agreement, the question is found to have a valid defect, the question can be excluded from the exam, or the examinees can all be credited with a correct answer for the question. When the exam is closed, the local facility index data for each question is added to the global facility index. In this way, the statistical analysis for each question becomes increasingly accurate and reliable due to the cumulative population. The global facility index is shown when you enter the questions page. A panel on the right side of the page shows the same countdown timer that is displayed on the examinees page. An option in the settings allows us to set the start of the exam to be initiated by the administrator, thereby starting each examinee's exam simultaneously. If, as in this demonstration, we have the timer set to be started by the examinee, the Start Exam is controlled by each individual examinee, and the Start Exam button on this administrator's panel is disabled. As soon as each examinee has completed all the questions and clicked Mark Exam, a green tick is automatically displayed. If the examinee has not yet completed all the questions, the column shows a red dash. The administrator can monitor on this page the progress of the entire class and see when each examinee has completed the exam. A raw score and a percentage score are also displayed as soon as the respective examinee has completed their exam. Once all the examinees have completed their e-exam, or they are marked as being absent, we can close this exam. We must close the exam before we can print exam reports and examinees' certificates. A field at the bottom of this page lets us enter any notes or comments we want to record for this exam. The notes can be added to, or changed, after the exam is closed. We close the exam here, and confirm. Now the exam is marked as a closed exam. In the Examinee Certificates tab, we can print a certificate for those examinees who passed the exam. In this demonstration, no examinee passed the e-exam. However, we can generate a knowledge deficiency report. This is also known as a KDR. Click the KDR icon. The KDR opens in a pop-up. It shows a breakdown of how the examinee performed in each subsection. It does not show the questions on the exam, but it does show the percentage of questions answered correctly in each subsection. We can highlight, copy, and paste the KDR text into an email or a headed letter and send it to the examinee. Use shortcut keys Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V to copy and paste, respectively. The examinee now knows exactly what parts of the syllabus they must study before the resit exam. For those examinees who passed the exam, the KDR icon is replaced with a certificate icon. We can click the certificate icon to generate and download a certificate for this exam, for each examinee. See our other video entitled KDR and Certificates to learn how to configure your certificates, generate the certificates, and print the certificates.